Good evening, grade 8. Today's video will be on 1.4, estimating square roots. The idea behind today's lesson is quite simple. Without using the square root button on your calculator, we're going to try and estimate the square root of numbers that are not perfect squares. We've worked on numbers that are perfect squares, like 9 is an example of a perfect square, 16, 25, 36, what would be the next one after 36? 49, right? All those numbers are perfect squares, and it's easy to find the square root. But what happens when I give you a number like 15, and you got to try and figure that out without using a calculator? And that's what today's lesson's going to be about. All right, so let's get started. Estimating square roots. A couple things I want you to think about. Let's say I said 9. Let's take the number 9. Now, if I told you there was a square, and the area of this square, I'm going to do a very bad square over here. The area of this square was 9 centimeters squared. You'd think I'd get better at this drawing by now. Basically, I want to know the square root of 9. Remember this sign right here? So what I'm really asking is, if there is a square with an area of 9 centimeters squared, the square root's basically saying, what's the length of the side of the square? And we know that squares all have equal lengths on each side. So basically, what number times itself will give us 9? And you would say 3. You know that 3 times 3 is equal to 9. Now that's easy because 9 is an example of a perfect square. Same thing I could say about 16. Let's say, I'll get another example here. Let's say you had a square, and the area of the square was 16 centimeters squared. You draw your square over here. Oh, I thought I had a better one. Okay, let's see this square right here. And it has an area of 16 centimeters squared. Okay. If I want to know the square root, what I'm asking is, what's the length of the sides? So 16 is a perfect square. So what number times itself will give us 16? Well, you know 4, because 4 times 4 is 16, right? Now, what today's math lesson is going to focus on is this. Here's your question. 12. A square has an area of 12 centimeters squared. In here, it takes up 12. What is the length of each side? So basically, what I'm asking is, what's the square root of 12? Well, that's not as easy now, because 12 is not an example of a perfect square. There are no whole numbers that I can multiply by themselves to get me 12. Okay, so how do we figure this out? Well, there's a couple different methods. The first method I'm going to show you is using a number line. So watch this. I have created a number line. It goes from 0 here all the way to 25. But if you noticed, I've drawn on this number line. And anywhere there is a number that's a perfect square, in this case 4, 9, 16, 25, I drew the square root sign over it and put what the side length would be. Okay, so let's go back to our question here. We want to know if a square has an area of 12, what's the side length? Well, over here we said, if in our first example, if a square had an area of 9, the side length would be 3. Well, look at this. Hey, here, if the square root of 9 is 3 on my number line, and the square root of 16 is 4. Well, now I got to look at, where does the number 12 fall? So let's go back to our number line. Where's 12? 12 is right here. So guess what? Let's take a look at this. I know that the square root of 12 is going to fall in between the numbers 3 and 4. So that tells me my answer for the square root of 12, it is going to be 3 point something. Now that's the tough part. Point what? Well, let's figure this out. How many ticks is there between 3 and 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 ticks, and 12 lands on the 1, 2, 3. So 3 sevenths. Well, I would say then it's not quite half. It's right below half. So if half was 5, I could say 3.4. Remember, we're just estimating. We're getting close. If you said 3.4 was the square root of 12, that'd be close. Hey, let's check it on our calculator. 12, hit the square root button. We said it should be 3. Oh, hey, here's our answer. 3.46. Well, you know what? In this case, that's pretty close. And I'd say you're right. Okay, let's do another example then. Let's go back here. Whoops. Let's go new page. Let's figure out the square root of 24. So if I said to you, hey, here's a square. The area of the square is 24 centimeters squared. What is the length of the sides? So basically what I'm saying is, go find the number, whoops, go back to my number line here. Go find the number 24. Hey, it's right here. Whoa, see that? What's the square root of it? Well, my answer is going to be in between 4 and 5. So my answer is going to be 4 point something. Now, once again, the point something. The point something. What's the point something? Well, hey, how many dashes are there between 4 and 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 24 falls on 8. So we are 8 ninths. So you know what? I'd say it would be somewhere around like 4.9 would be a pretty good guess. Okay, just by using my number line. So let's go check it out using our calculator. 24 square root 4.89. If we round up, that would be 4.9. So that's pretty close for an estimation. That's pretty good. So do you guys get how this works? Beautiful. So that's one method you can use. That's the number line method. I like the number line method. It's just visual. I'm a visual learner, so it really helps me figure out where the number falls in between. Because you always want to figure out where the square root number would fall in between. Like it's between 4 and 5, so I know my answer is going to be 4 point something. Or over here, let's look at this. If we did the square root of 6, well, it falls in between 2 and 3, so I know my answer is going to be 2 point something. It's just, what's the point something? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half is right here, so it's going to fall slightly in front of the half. So it's slightly before 2.5, so if I'm estimating, 2.4. Let's try that. Square root of 6. 6, square root sign. 2.44. Hey, that's a pretty good estimation. I'd be happy with that if that was my answer. All right. So there's the number line method. You can get this number line tool in your ePearson under the toolbox over here. If you forget where that is, it's right here. Toolbox, number lines. That's what I use to show you that. All right. So there's one method. You might not like the number line. Another one is I call it the guess and check method. All right. For example, let's say we had the number 96. Let's say you were given a square, and it is made up of 96 centimeters squared. Well, basically what they're saying is, what is the square root of 96? Well, I have to now use my schema, my background knowledge, to know where does 96 fall in on a number line. Between what two perfect squares? Well, I know 9 times 9 is 81. So I'm going to do this, 81. And 10 times 10 is 100. So guess what? I know that 96 falls in between these. Now, what's the square root of 81? 9. What's the square root of 100? 10. And I know 96 falls in right here, somewhere closer to the 100. So my answer is going to be 9 point something. The point something is, well, we'll see. My time's running out here. I'm going to catch up with you on part 2 of the video. All right, grade 8s?